They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
The cameras were supposed to capture another royal fairy tale.
I know my latest money-making scheme is going to be cosplaying the final night that Princess Diana died. It's truly sick.
Instead, they caught something darker, something raw.
He just doesn't seem to give a damn.
When Prince Harry stepped out of that black SUV in New York, the look in his eyes said everything his silence couldn't.
Body language. My God, no amount of PR spin is gonna deal with that.
The jaw locked, the shoulders stiff, a man fighting the urge to explode under the glare of flashbulbs.
You completely see that she is shaken by this.
For Meghan, it was business as usual. The smile switched on like stage lighting, perfect, polished, practiced.
Maybe he is still very upset over her stunt over in Paris. I can't imagine that didn't go unnoticed by him.
But the distance between them was instant. You could feel it through the screen, one wrong breath away from a public meltdown.
See her face. You get here, mate. But on stage, when they knew everyone was filming on their mobile phones and taking pictures, it got even worse.
Then came the shout. A voice from the crowd sliced through the chaos. Stop using our children. And that was the moment the mask slipped.
They would tell you it's for protecting children online, but then why is Meghan Markle at a Balenciaga show accused of predatory behavior in the form of children's images?
Harry's head snapped toward the sound, fury flashing for half a second before he turned away. He grabbed Meghan's arm, not softly, not romantically, but with the sharp urgency of someone desperate to escape. His lips moved, but no one could hear what he said. Only the tension was audible. The flashes kept firing. Reporters kept calling their names, but the fairy tale had already cracked. Those weren't the smiles of a couple in love. They were survival smiles, the kind you wear when the story is collapsing and the world is still watching. From that second on, nothing about the night felt rehearsed. The prince who once defied the palace to protect her now looked like a man protecting himself from her, from the cameras, from everything that went wrong behind closed doors. They walked the red carpet together, but every step widened the invisible gap between them. What the world saw as glamour, insiders called a silent war, and the question lingered in every flash of light. What happened between Harry and Meghan that turned devotion into resentment and a fairy tale into a fight?
The simmering tension between the duplicitous Duke and his facelift-enhanced wife. Here's the red carpet arrival.
Hey, Harry, what are you up to?
New York City, the night air humming with sirens, cameras, and expectation. It was meant to be a redemption moment. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex reclaiming the spotlight after months of silence. The venue glowed with golden light, a curated symbol of rebirth. But beneath that glow, witnesses say the energy was wrong from the start. Event staff whispered about a heated exchange inside the SUV just moments before arrival. A member of the security detail described Harry's face as ice cold. Meghan, he said, sat rigid, adjusting her earrings in the reflection of the window, not looking at him once. By the time the door opened, every lens in Manhattan was pointed at them. Producers from the award ceremony had prepared a perfect entry shot, one slow walk, one synchronized smile. But insiders at the scene noticed something offbeat. Harry broke formation. He moved ahead of Meghan, his stride faster, his gaze locked on the carpet instead of the crowd.
And then you see her naked feet crisscrossed in front of her, like the world is at my feet. Ha ha ha, this is so fun. This is where my children's grandmother died. Good times. Let me put this online.
It wasn't the first time tension had leaked through the facade. Weeks earlier, at a private industry dinner, Meghan was seen attempting to hold Harry's hand. He brushed it away under the table, murmuring something short. One witness described it as the moment the warmth left the room. Royal correspondents, PR analysts, even body language experts now agree something fractured long before that night in New York. What happened at the award gala wasn't an isolated, awkward moment. It was the public reveal of a private collapse. And yet every insider points to a different trigger. Some blame fame, others the palace. But one source close to Harry insists the real breaking point wasn't in America at all. It began in Paris.
Especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK, but it's safe enough for Meghan to be alone in Paris, literally engaging with the paparazzi you say killed your mother.
To the public, it looked like a triumph. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, polished, powerful, united, stepping onto the red carpet as cameras erupted in applause. For weeks, tabloids had teased this appearance as their grand return, the moment the couple would rewrite the narrative. Every detail had been choreographed. The wardrobe, the walk, the smiles. Meghan shimmered in metallic gold. Every movement deliberate, every glance designed for the lens. Harry, in a classic tuxedo, followed her lead. To the fans gathered behind the barricades, it was the picture of resilience. The exiled royals turned global icons. But the illusion lasted less than a heartbeat. When the first wave of flashes hit, the tension was visible even to those watching through live streams. Harry's expression didn't match hers. He wasn't smiling, he was enduring. A subtle exhale as escaped him as Meghan waved to the crowd, a flicker of strain that no amount of media training could conceal.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up.
Harry's speech was so lackluster, Tash. As you say, I think he's furious about what went on in Paris, but they couldn't cancel this event. Watch.
Then, amid the frenzy, came that single voice, sharp, unfiltered, cutting through the noise like a blade. "Stop using our children." Every conversation froze. Cameras caught the split-second reaction. Meghan's smile stiffening, Harry's jaw tightening, his eyes darting toward the heckler before shifting sharply to the entrance doors. It wasn't shock, it was recognition, as if the words echoed something he'd already said behind closed doors. He reached for her arm, not with affection, but urgency. The same gesture the cameras mistook for guidance was, according to a nearby photographer, a signal. Move now. The warmth was gone, replaced by a silent command. From that moment on, the night spiraled in a quiet, invisible way. They played their roles, applause, laughter, poses, but the connection between them had evaporated. To everyone watching, it was glamour. To those who knew better, it was grief disguised as grace. And what the public hailed as a comeback was in truth the first act of their unraveling.
Our children, Archie and Lily, are just 6 and 4 years old. Luckily, still too young for social media, but we know that day is coming.
Now, Meghan, the actress, of course, had to stick to the script. And so we had the hilarious, she's trying to talk about the need to protect children from social media, even though she's pimping out her own children wherever she can, causing these tensions.
On the surface, it looked flawless, but the replay told another story. Every frame of that New York appearance slowed down, magnified, dissected, exposed a language no words could mask. The distance wasn't measured in steps, it was written in gestures. Harry's hand hung loosely by his side, fingers twitching each time Meghan reached toward him. She smiled for the cameras. He blinked once hard like a man trying to steady himself. Body language specialists who analyzed the footage didn't mince words. One expert called Harry's demeanor defensive withdrawal, the posture of someone shutting down emotionally under pressure. Another noted how Meghan's laughter arrived seconds late like a delayed performance. It was coordination without connection, and it wasn't new. Just weeks earlier, at a charity event hosted by Kevin Costner, Harry's irritation had been visible even off stage. When Meghan tried to guide the conversation, his jaw flexed, his gaze turned distant. The same look surfaced in New York, only sharper, colder.
The New York Times are finally realizing, actually, his wife might be a disaster tourist, but he is a disaster when it comes to charity, especially African charity, because he doesn't actually give a damn. For years and years and years, he used Africa because it was good for his PR.
Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. A stylist who worked with Meghan that night claimed the fitting session ended abruptly after an argument over her outfit. A publicist recalled hearing Meghan's voice echo down a hallway, sharp and clipped, followed by the sound of a door slamming. No shouting from Harry, just silence. That insiders say was his new pattern. He didn't fight anymore, he withdrew. When the red carpet moment hit social media, fans noticed the fracture immediately. Side-by-side comparisons showed Harry leaning away, his expression flat while Meghan leaned in, performing proximity. The photo agencies tagged it as romantic, but to those who followed their arc, it looked more like endurance than affection. By the end of the night, even the event staff stopped calling it chemistry. One producer whispered, it was like watching two actors share a scene they no longer believed in, and yet no one understood why. What had turned partnership into performance.
If I know that this is a place that my husband hates because it's where he lost his mom, I'm not going to go there.
To find the answer, you have to rewind. Not to New York, not to California, but to Paris, where the fracture first began to spread. Before New York, there was Paris, and that's where everything started to fracture. It was meant to be Meghan's comeback. Front row seats, couture gowns, flashes of luxury. But behind those flawless photographs, witnesses saw something else. A couple moving through the same space like strangers. Harry kept his distance, his gaze fixed ahead while Meghan greeted designers with her signature smile. To the crowd, it was glamour. To those close enough to see, it was frost. Then came the moment. Her team filmed her walking through the Pont tunnel, the exact place where Princess Diana's life ended. Meghan smiled faintly at the camera, scarf drawn tight around her face, her expression soft but deliberate. When the clip surfaced online, it ignited outrage. But inside their home, it sparked something far worse.
Harry usually introduces his wife, not last night. And my God, the look she shot him. It's like, you just wait till we're back at home.
According to sources close to the couple, Harry was furious. Not performative anger, the kind that explodes and fades, but quiet, soul-deep rage. That tunnel wasn't just a location to him. It was sacred ground. For Meghan, it was symbolism, a mirror of legacy. But to Harry, it was desecration. Insiders say their argument that night was brutal. Words cut like shrapnel. He demanded to know how she could turn his mother father's tragedy into content. Meghan insisted it was harmless, artistic even, but something in him broke. For years, he'd fought everyone to protect her. Now he couldn't justify her. From that night forward, the silence between them grew louder. Harry stopped defending. Meghan stopped explaining. Their smiles became scripts. Their affection, choreography. Each appearance rehearsed for the cameras. Every gesture designed to keep the illusion alive. By the time New York arrived, the performance was all they had left. The laughter was mechanical. The eye contact forced. The man beside her wasn't angry anymore. He was hollow. And that's the danger no one saw coming. Not rage, not scandal. Emptiness. Because once love turns into survival, it doesn't explode. It erodes. Quietly. Completely.
But I have to just say, anyone who has doubted me over the past decade about this evil woman now needs to eat some humble pie. Because this video, designed to mentally torture her husband.
And what began in Paris didn't end in New York. It simply became visible. Every story has a rhythm. Theirs moves like a heartbeat that keeps skipping. Uneven, fragile, impossible to ignore. You can hear it in the pauses between smiles, in the clipped sentences exchanged off camera, in the silence that lingers just long enough to sting. This isn't a fairy tale told in bright colors. It's painted in shadows, cold flashes of silver light on a red carpet, the whisper of fabric brushing past microphones, the low hum of a crowd waiting for something to break. Every word they speak in public sounds polished, rehearsed, perfect, and yet every silence tells the truth they're afraid to say out loud. The tone of their story is half theater, half confession, dramatic in its staging, authoritative in its control, but threaded with the kind of quiet that makes you lean closer. Because what's collapsing between them isn't loud. It's the kind of unraveling that happens under breath.
It doesn't work for you to shoulders back, breasts out, headlights going, and try to look as bitchy as possible.
Behind closed doors, between two people who know the script too well to admit they're lost in it. Each movement is deliberate. 3 beats of tension, 1 of calm. Each phrase cut short as if both are holding their breath, afraid to finish the thought. Harry's voice low and clipped, Meghan's steady but strained. Together, they sound like dialogue from a film that's already in its final act. And that's the secret pulse of their downfall. It's not chaos that defines them, it's precision. A perfect image built on controlled emotion, slipping out of sync frame by frame. Because the more you listen to their story, the clearer it becomes. Every pause, every glance, every carefully chosen word hides a truth more haunting than the lies ever could. And somewhere between performance and confession, their silence speaks loudest of all. Maybe the smiles were real once. Maybe the laughter we saw on those early red carpets wasn't rehearsed. But somewhere between the spotlight and the silence, something in them shifted. The glances grew shorter, the touches colder, and what began as rebellion against the crown has turned into rebellion against each other.
I just spoke to somebody that said their palace sources say perhaps the king would plan to meet with Prince Harry at the beginning of 2026. Meghan Markle has no desire to return to the UK because she knows how simply loathed she is there.
Every story has a final scene. Some end in noise, others in nothing at all. For Harry and Meghan, it won't be a press statement or a public split. It'll be the quiet kind of ending, the one that happens slowly, invisibly, until one day they simply stop standing side by side. The cameras will move on, the headlines will fade, but the question will linger like an echo. Was this love ever meant to survive the fame it built? Because when affection becomes performance and loyalty becomes strategy, the fairy tale doesn't shatter, it dissolves, frame by frame, smile by smile, and in that silence between flashbulbs and reality, the truth waits, unseen, unspoken, unforgettable. What unfolded in New York wasn't just a moment, it was a mirror, a reflection of something Meghan has faced before. The slow fading of affection, the quiet shift from love to strategy. The patterns are eerily familiar, the charm, the performance, the unraveling that always begins when the cameras turn away.
She's sort of very needy, isn't she? She loves to be loved, and she hates the British people, that she'll never come back to this country because she knows people don't really want her back in this country.
And if you think this was the first time someone close to her felt that fracture, think again, because before there was a prince, there was a man who saw it coming. Joe Giuliano, Meghan's first husband, the man who once promised her forever and walked away before the world ever knew her name. He's finally spoken out, and what he revealed about why his family rejected her paints a picture even more unsettling than the royal drama. His words don't just explain the distance you saw on that red carpet, they expose the pattern that's been repeating for years. If you want to understand why Harry's silence looks so final, you need to hear the man who lived through the first version of Meghan's story. Watch our previous investigation about Meghan's first husband. Joe Giuliano reveals why his family rejected Meghan. It's not gossip, it's context, and it changes everything you think you know about how this fairy tale began. You're watching Star Spotlight, where secrets cast longer shadows than fame ever could.